Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to the next in our series of webcasts that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series. And I'm delighted today to be joined by three people at the sharp end. We've got Jackie Steadman from TravelTime World, a travel agent on the front line. We've got Chris Wright, who's the Managing Director of Sunvil, and we've got Alan Cross, who's the Head of Trade Sales at Jet2 Holiday. So welcome, everyone.
Thanks, Lucy.
Now then, guys, I wanted to talk to you particularly. It's been a bit of a busy week again. Obviously, last weekend we heard the news about Spain. I'll come to you first, Alan, because that obviously had a big impact on Jet2 Holidays. I want to know really, how you felt about that, but also, your reaction. You reacted pretty quickly by putting on extra capacity elsewhere. So just tell us about the last week.
Yeah, it certainly was a surprising Saturday night, particularly when you're out at friends, having a little drink and something to eat and everything kicks off. Basically, from our perspective, we were in, at the start of COVID-19, a reactive mode. We were very much servicing the refunds, responses and everything that was happening. That had moved into a proactive mode, that we were very much getting into the sales attitude again, things were going well. And then last Saturday, it just came out the blue, I must admit, and again pushed us back into a reactive mode again. Things had to get turned around very, very quickly, as you can imagine. We believed over Sunday and Monday, we managed to control it well. The customers at the airport were in great spirits, I must admit, and were very keen to go. Monday night again, the news hit us about Mallorca and the Canaries, which just basically added insult to injury, to be quite honest with you. But I don't know about the other guys, but you just got to get on with it and again make the most out of a bad situation, and that's what we do at Jet2 Holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just got to cope, haven't you? I guess you've got to play the cards that are dealt you. So you added on some capacity midweek, I think, Alan. You put some more into Greece and Turkey. So is that how you've been dealing with it? Just trying to switch people onto different destinations?
Well, I'll be quite honest. Before the news about Spain, there was a spike in the demand for Greece and Turkey anyway. So it was a natural progression. We looked at opportunities, moving the switching of aircraft, etc. that way. And yeah, the plan could have been, looking at it, they identified the opportunities for Turkey and Greece. Spain just propelled it on for us to make the right decision that way. And it has proven to be right. If I look at last week's sales overall, Alaman was the top seller. Antalya was the second top seller. Crete, Heraklion, was the third top seller. So yeah, our movement certainly directed things through that overall. But what I would say for summer 21, looking at it, Spain is still there. Mallorca top seller for summer 21 last week, Tenerife second top seller, Benidorm third top seller. So certain things don't change. The customer likes what they like at the end of the day, and that's what we aim to give them.
All right, well, let's come back and talk about how customers have been reacting. But let's bring you in, Chris, because Alan said there he was already seeing a spike to Greece and to Turkey. Obviously, you're a Greece specialist. Had you been seeing a bit of an upswing in demand?
We'd certainly seen an upswing, but the whole thing was just propelled once the Spanish lockdown happened, or the Spanish quarantine. And I think it was Monday we started to see the demand coming in, and the prices started to go up especially on seat only. And then it just sort of carried on through the week. And this weekend really was the first weekend we've actually sort of filled the flights that we've got operating. So there was certainly the demand just went through the roof, especially towards the end of the weekend. The end of the week, sorry. And we're seeing that sort of going on into this week. The interesting thing is that there's a lot of people that are making inquiries that have never travelled to Greece before. They're obviously Spanish diehards, never contemplated going to Greece. And so the questions that they're asking are very different. They're trying to sort of find comparable places to go. And so it's quite a good one for the sales team because they're having to try and sort of think of different ways of selling and trying to, just react in a different way, really.
And are they going anywhere they can get because they're just desperate to switch their holiday, or is there certain destinations or resorts that are or islands that are more popular than others?
Depends on the price point, really. There's sort of the lower end of the market where they're just desperate to go somewhere they normally come in and buy a flight only, and then will frantically try and find accommodation to go with that. But then the higher end of the market still comes through with a long list of requirements, and it's trying to sort of match those requirements to what's available. Corfu has been very strong for us, and also sort of Skiathos over in the Sporades, and also Preveza. So there's been a real mix, really, but Corfu is definitely a strong one. And a lot of the switch from Spain seems to have been directed there.
And have you had to change your program, Chris? Have you had to sort of try and, get some more rooms in certain properties? Have you been, have you had to adapt, or did you have it all available to meet this increased demand?
It's been quite interesting because a lot of properties, the requirements are quite sort of stringent, and they decided that based on demand, they just decided they were going to mothball for this summer, and a lot of those have turned around and changed. So we've been getting apartment blocks back up and running in the space of sort of a few days, and making sure they're compliant with the regulation. So yeah, there's definitely been a lot more accommodation having to come back online.
Okay, well, I want to come back to talk to you about what it's actually like over there, because I know you've been travelling about a little bit in Greece. But let's talk to Jackie. You're right on the front line. You've got customers. I guess you've been having to move people around. You've had sort of presumably had people booked to Spain, and you're now having to move them elsewhere, Jackie?
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw a couple of weeks ago the nice green shoots coming through. People were ready to book. We got quite a few groups of our lads who are 17, 18, who originally were booked to Greece, cancelled because with yourselves, Alan, with Jet2, because the cost of the deposit was low enough for them to waive that. They then came in late, and we booked them into Magaluf. Of course, Magaluf, we changed them again over into Greece. Now they're going to Greece. And that's what we're having to do. Certainly the younger end of the market, so I would say up to 45, 50 are happy to change. The rest of them are older, more discerning people are moving to 2021. That's what we're generally saying. Yeah.
So it's just now put them off. There's too much uncertainty.
That's fine. Absolutely. And we've got a lot with yourselves, Chris, that have moved to 2021. And I think my team were dealing with Sue late Friday night, trying to get availability for the weekend, out to Greece.
But it's not that they can't get the availability then. They're moving just because they feel unsure.
It's the older, they're definitely the older clientele. Yeah, he's definitely wanting to leave it this year, and we'll move it to 21. Okay. Are you seeing that, Alan, across your profile of ages?
Interesting. A lot of what we've seen depends on the destination that it's going to. There's a lot of people very willing to move to summer 20 that's out there. I mean, when you looked at last week, the extra capacity that was put on for this summer for Greece is another 17,000 seats with Jet2. It's 22,500 with Jet2.com to Turkey. And the demand, backing up what Chris was saying, was there for people to move. The young ones, they don't clear. And that includes my daughter at 22 years of age, who hopefully is going away on the 17th of August to the Canary Islands. When things kicked off last week, I got a phone call from her. And it wasn't that she wanted to cancel, it was to make sure that flight went, because she's desperate to get away for a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. So the younger ones, right up to the 50, 55, I would say, are happy to travel now. Some of the more mature ones, the winter is ideal for it. And we are seeing a pickup in winter demand definitely as well.
Okay, that's interesting. And Chris, I might as well ask you the same question around the demographics. Have you noticed any differences along the lines of the others?
Yeah, well, our market tends to be sort of the older market anyway, and so it's been quite an interesting one. I mean, I was speaking to an 80-year-old guy on Friday who's still desperate to travel, and as long as the flight's operating and the accommodation's open, he's going to be travelling. But there's definitely the more edgy ones that are, interestingly, some are deferring to 2021, and then as they start to see things opening up and they start to see the feedback coming back, then they're transferring back to 2020. So it's a real moving feat all the time, and you just have to go with the flow and try and assist people as much as you can, and just try and, we've had some people that have moved 20 to 21, back to 20, back to 21, and they just keep moving backwards and forwards. And it's all part of our customer service thing, but you just have to keep coaxing them along and trying to get those positive messages out. And I think As long as things stay open and the messages coming back are okay, then definitely people are feeling the confidence there to travel.
Yeah, and naively speaking, perhaps, if you've booked a holiday to Spain, can you get a pretty much equivalent one in Greece or Turkey for the same price, or is it a very different experience? I mean, if people are just going for a hotel and a beach, is it very similar, or I just wonder if there is that sort of equivalent in terms of what they're getting and their value for money from switching from Spain to the Eastern Med. I don't know if that's a question for you, Jackie, because you must sell.
Well, I think, if I look at the Sunvil project, sorry, Chris, that's more rustic, and I don't think you get something similar to that in Spain. Yeah, it's a more rustic, more pension, more hotel, self-catering on the beach. Turkey, I don't know where the equivalent in Spain would be to Turkey. I think they are different experiences, and I think that's one of the things that you've got to explain to clients. There are differences. There aren't the large, big hotels in some of the small islands. It is going to be a lot of self-catering. It is going to be a lot of small, little, hotels.
There's definitely a demand for the villa market, and that's where we're seeing a huge sort of crossover. People that were just literally looking for a villa with a pool, and they were almost wanting to just self-isolate in that villa. So we've got the GIC, the Villa Collection, where we're offering food delivery and that sort of thing, and people are just happy that they've got their four-bed villa with private pool, and that's the ones that are the easy switch sell, really.
Yeah, because they're not probably going to go out and about and look at all the sites. They want to just be, as you say, sort of self-contained. Chris, just give us paint a picture. Oh, go on, Jackie. Sorry.
Sorry, but the price then on the particular Greek Islands club will be a lot higher than somebody looking for a week in Spain, wouldn't it? Yeah, the villa market. Chris,
it's hard to tell. I'm not too sort of sure, but we're definitely getting some transfer over.
Okay, interesting. So, Chris, I was just going to ask you, because I know you've been traveling a little bit in Greece. I've been following you on social media, and you've been sort of reporting on everything, like the airport experience and then out to resorts. So, can you give us just an idea of, what it's like for people that are now perhaps, or for agents that are considering switch selling their customers?
Yeah, it was interesting. I flew out on the 5th of July. I think it was one of the first flights, or the first times you could offer it after the FCO advice was listed. And I went via Poland because you couldn't get a direct flight. And I was quite apprehensive. I hadn't really been out of the house for 3 months. And I think that once I got used to wearing the mask, after the first 15 minutes, you sort of relaxed. And I think the turning point really was when I realized that the only thing I could control was my own personal space, and the fact that I was wearing my mask, I was sanitizing and everything else. And once you sort of realize that you can't control the social distancing, and you are going to be in queues, but you're keeping yourself safe, then you sort of relax into the whole thing. And it was really sort of just got on with it and carried on. So the journey in itself wasn't that much difference apart from wearing the mask. And then once we arrived in Greece, a small proportion of people were selected for random testing, and that was all sort of carried out before the bags came up onto the belt, so there was no delays there. And then you sort of just got on with your holiday as normal. And it was quite strange in that, having been sort of locked away in your house and working from the kitchen for all those months, you suddenly were sort of had a bit of freedom, and you felt that you could, the first taverna meal and that sort of thing, where you thought, I haven't even been out for a meal for so long. So it was all quite new and fresh, and quite an unusual experience. And I think that's the feedback we've been getting from customers as well. It's almost like you don't forget that it's all happening, but there's that almost like a sigh of relief that you sort of relax into the situation, and you can enjoy the sunshine and enjoy a bit more freedom, but while sort of still keeping yourself safe. And I think that's the real difference, that it's just so much easier over there. I went out for the first time here in the UK yesterday, and everything was just so much more complicated. I went into a bar and I didn't feel safe in the bar, and just somehow when you're overseas, the whole thing just sort of seems that much more easier, I think.
Well, there's been so many pictures on social media of beaches in the UK this weekend compared to beaches in Europe, and I mean it's a stark contrast, and it looks much busier here, of course. Alan, I remember talking to your CEO Steve recently, and he was saying the first sort of 2 weeks of you reinstating your program were crucial, because obviously customers would be coming back having had an experience, and then obviously spreading the word about whether it felt good or normal or uncomfortable. So you've had a couple of weeks now. How do you think your customers have found it, and has that helped with demand? Do you think you're seeing it building?
Very much so. That the confidence feedback that we have from our ops team as well, and it's about the customer, everything from the onboard experience to the transfer to the hotel to the resort, has all been very, very good. One question we asked was, on board the aircraft, you're getting a full meal and drink service. So our customers get managed with wearing a mask, and it's self-management basically. As someone pointed out, if you get a gin and tonic, are they going to sit there for 2 hours with their mask off? But that was not the experience. People were having a sip of their drink and then putting their mask back on.
Okay.
They are reassured by the cleaning of the aircraft. We spray it every 10 days with a gas that bears virus for 14 days. So if they spilled their food, they could always eat it off the floor and not catch anything in the aircraft. And with the HEPA system, with the air, it's filtered top to bottom. So it's one of the safest places you can be in an enclosed space. The confidence of the customer in resort as well. If you ask me, in many, many cases, the overseas governments are managing the control of it much, much stricter and better than they are in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, Jackie's nodding. So, Jackie, you've just been in Portugal for the last month. This is a contentious issue, isn't it, around Portugal? We've to go on the safe list, and it hasn't, and it seems to be no indication it's going to go on anytime soon. And would you? I mean, are you surprised by that, having been there?
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously on the Algarve. I've been out there for a month, and it is you do get a very, very normal feeling. You actually feel like, oh, well, what's happening? Yeah, it's very, very simple rules. They came down with a very, very hard lockdown. It was very strict. It was controlled by the police, the GNR on the roads. You did not go out. Everybody wears masks. You don't wear them in the street. You don't see people walking around on bikes or scooters or whatever wearing masks. You put them on the minute you walk over into a public building. So it's a simple rule. You sit outside with a coffee, you have your coffee. You want to go into the toilet, you put your mask on. You want to go and place an order, you put the mask on. You come out, you take it off. It's a very simple rule, and everybody sticks to it. So I mean, the beaches are not particularly busy. Everything feels, the sun's shining, it feels very relaxed. And I felt very, very safe. I say I was out there for a month. Just the weirdest thing, which we'll come on to later, was coming back into the UK with the, because obviously we're with the quarantine.
Tell us now what happened.
Well, I mean, I went online 2 or 3 days ago to fill in my form. Was told, no, it blocked me and said, come back on 48 hours before you fly. I did about 25 minutes filling this form in, all the phone numbers of where you're going to be and the addresses. Filled it all in. Nobody at Faro Airport asked me anything about it. On the aircraft, they never asked me anything about it. The aircraft was very safe. There was only about 90, probably less than 90 was on board. It's the EasyJet flight. Everybody wore masks. A few drinks came around. You took your mask off, you drank, you put your mask back on again. And we landed in Luton. Nobody asked. We went through control, went to the electronic passport. Nobody mentioned a thing about it. My passport wouldn't go through. So I was sent off to the manual. And I got there, friendly guy, looked at my passport. Yep, fine. I said, you're not going to ask me about the form? I've just come in from Portugal. I went, oh, where have you come from? I said, Portugal. Oh, all right. Are you going to quarantine them for 14 days? I went, yes. Do you not want to see my form? He went, oh, go on then, let's have a look. So I got my phone out and I went onto the email. I said, here you go. And he went, wow, great, fantastic. The next time I go, why am I going to waste 25 minutes filling it in? And I would say half the people I was chatting to on the plane have not completed the forms.
So they're not completing them, but then they're not being
asked. It's not being policed.
Both times I've flown in now, it's been exactly the same. So I've flown into Heathrow Terminal 2 and in Stansted, and both times at Heathrow Terminal 2, I got pulled to the manual gate because my passport doesn't work,
Yep.
and he said, "Have you filled that form in?" And I said yes, and he just waved me through.
Well, yeah, I actually have to. I have to show it to him. You know, yeah, and once that was.
I mean, I know we're sort of saying is, you know, we're slightly laughing and saying it's a joke, but you know, it's quite serious, isn't it? Because it's you know, you either got to do it because it's absolutely essential, or you haven't, and you're busy advising customers. Clearly, all these kind of new restrictions are having an effect on demand. You know, they will be unsettling people, and yet if they're not even being checked, then it's sort of impacting your businesses arguably unnecessarily. So I mean, how does that make you feel that you've had that experience?
Well, I mean, it's just this mixed messages again. It's the same thing. It's just this creates lack of consumer confidence because it's a mixed message. Yes, am I supposed to fill it in or am I not supposed to fill it in? If I fill it in, am I going to get checked? Am I not? Is somebody going to phone me up in a few minutes now to check I'm at home? So it's this mixed messages, and that's what I said about Portugal. They have very strict rules. That's what you do, and you do it. You know.
So it's unambiguous and therefore
absolutely wishy-washy.
The same thing. What, Chris? What about you? You know, two experiences. You kind of think maybe one, but if it's happened both times, that's pretty poor.
Yeah, and I think we've always been very clear that the health and safety of our customers is priority. And if there is an issue and a country needs quarantining or locking down, then that's obviously done for a certain reason, and it should be the case. But I think the feeling is that it's just being done for lip service, and it's almost like it's being done to please certain people so that the government can say that they're keeping everybody safe, and the reality of it is that they're not actually tracking. It's this double whammy in that there's a huge knock-on demand and an effect on our businesses, but at the same time the general public aren't actually being kept safe because anybody can come in that wants to without having any sort of checks, and I think that's the sad part about it.
Yeah, and for you, Alan, because I mean, I've never seen an operator do more messages to travel agents around the forms and the requirements. I mean, you're on it in terms of sending these communications out, and I guess then agents diligently do what they're supposed to be doing, and then I imagine they're getting customers coming back saying, "Well, why did I do that? I didn't need it."
Yeah, it's a daily job and ongoing, keeping up to date what's happening and putting the communication out there and trying to keep it a clear communication for all countries, let alone the inbound requirements for here. And again, as long as agents or suppliers or the customer knows exactly what they're doing and expects to see that, but how's that a confidence builder when they come back into this country and don't get the checks that they expect? And that's what I mean about people's confidence. And almost an instance of, you know, I'd rather be abroad. They can do it better than we can manage it here. So they don't have a problem about going on holiday. There is a demand and a wish to go away after 5 months. Again, I love my family, my animals, my house, but the first chance I get, I'm on a plane out of here.
Absolutely. Let me just ask you, Alan, and well, all of you, I guess, about Cyprus, because you're offering Cyprus, Chris. Are you travelling back to Cyprus? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In a very small way.
Yeah. Okay. But I know Jet2, you're not offering it yet because of the £90 COVID test on arrival, which you feel obviously for a family of 4 it adds too much money onto the cost.
It's not just that. What they require is within 72 hours of travelling to Cyprus that you have to have a PCR test. Now, I know people, friends of mine, that were due to go to Cyprus and they couldn't get clarification of when they would get the results. Would it be within the 3 days of flying out? Then it changed, and at one time when you arrive in Cyprus, you could get a €90 PCR test there, but then they cancelled that and basically would just return the passenger and send them out the country. So it was getting too mixed message, difficult to manage. The restrictions have been unreasonable. Now you look at Madeira, for instance, and what happens in Madeira, they also ask for a pre-travel test. But if you arrive and you do not have one, they will give you one within an hour of arriving at Madeira airport and allow you to continue with your holiday and get the results.
Which the customer pays for, or does the government pay for it?
The Madeira government pays for it.
Okay.
So, and that's the same for the Azores as well.
Sorry, Chris, say again.
That's the same for us in the Azores as well. The customer's tested on arrival and then has to wait for the test results overnight.
Okay, but they're pretty sure it's going to come within 24 hours, as opposed to this concern that Alan's highlighting around.
And again, you think of a family going on holiday, that's maybe £400 or £500 that they haven't budgeted for. That is unreasonable to ask for, we believe.
Yeah. And do you think that, I mean, I don't know, you must be talking to the Cypriot government. Do you think that there may be some changes in time for the rest of the summer, or are you not getting any indication on that front?
We certainly hope so. I mean, when you look at Spain, we're optimistic we're going to be flying on the 17th of August. We're working to that date, whether it be the Canary Islands, the Balearics, or the mainland. Cyprus is a hugely popular destination, but the clock's ticking. And if we don't start flying to these destinations, the hotels will start shutting down, as it happened in a number of cases so far. So it's a chicken and egg situation, but the clock's ticking and we need to get moving. We hope that the government in Cyprus changes their mind.
Absolutely. Just go back to your hope that you'll be flying to Spain on the 17th. What gives you that confidence, Alan?
To be quite honest with you, when you look at, well, if not the whole of Spain, at least the Balearics and the Canaries, and all the reasons for not going there, we've got worse rates here in the UK. And again, in the UK, we manage things regionally, but we can't do it when we go abroad. So again, there's something not fair, unjust, and hypocritical about some of the decisions, I believe personally, made.
I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just I was perhaps a little surprised by your confidence, because this isn't a government that is known for reversing its decisions very quickly. And
it's not reversing its decisions, but they're doing it on a weekly basis. So if they review the evidence and the evidence that we believe, then make the right decision, then we're confident that they will reverse it, at least for the Canaries and the Balearics, and make the decision based on the facts. Okay,
so maybe not mainland Spain, but hopefully for the islands. And does that, Jackie, give, what would you be confident enough to sell from the 17th onwards, or will,
I think if
you're an agent?
If it's a company like Jet2, then we're very confident in selling, because we know that your customer service team, if it's not out there, we will move them to another destination, which we've been doing the last couple of weeks. So we're quite confident to sell that, knowing that we've got that flexibility to move them. I mean, just going back to, poor Algarve there, with its very, very low. I mean, what's your feeling on the Algarve, Alan, in terms of when do you think you'll be able to sell holidays there?
Again, I wish I had a crystal ball at this moment in time.
It's desperate.
And that's the most frustrating thing. We sit in meetings, we plan, we estimate, we think worst case scenario, and there's always a curveball will catch us when we're not looking for it. And as I say, it can be very frustrating, but you've just got to act with what's there and be positive. And it's nice that Jackie has the patience to work with ourselves, with the customers. But remember, we're turning into administrators, not salespeople. And that's what we need to get back to again, is be proactive and encourage the customers back into the high street. Because again, that's what we have to look at doing. There's a couple of things Jet2 Holidays is doing at the moment. Our TV adverts also mention the independent travel agent. So it's giving the customer the choice to walk down the high street and go in and encourage them to do so. And come September, we'll have introduced a high street independent travel agent finder built into our direct website. And no mainstream tour operator that I know has actually done that before. And that should be there for September. We need to do things. And I think, again, local governments and local councils need to do stuff to encourage people into the high street again. Maybe offer free parking for 3 months or 6 months to encourage that. More al fresco possibilities. And even, why can a travel agent not have a couple of tables and chairs outside the shop?
We did that on Saturday. My team, we've got a little tiny patio at the front of the office, and they got the table and chairs out, and the flags and the banners, and they were actually talking. It got really positive, talking to people about travel. Everybody wants to travel. Really positive messages getting there. It's just a matter of when and where to.
Yeah.
Jackie, just you went, or your team went outside.
Yeah.
I mean, presumably were they still wearing masks when they spoke to people, or was it your open air? You could just have that freer conversation without.
Yeah, it's open air, and the patio is about 4 meters, and it's got a little gate on it, so you can actually talk over the railings. It's quite cute. So the guys were behind a desk. We had the table, or at least decorating table.
So it made a difference, you know, that sort of
absolutely
that discomfort possibly about going into a shop.
Yeah.
Just by you bringing your expertise outside, that made a real difference.
Exactly.
I mean, you talk about the high street. Of course, like last week's news on Friday was TUI announcing it was going to be closing 166 of its shops, hopefully redeploying all those staff in a home working position. But you know, for independent agents like yourself, Jackie, and for Alan, you're working with lots of independent agents, and I'm sure you are as well, Sunvil. So, you know, does that play into the hands of independent agents more? Because in some cases they might now be the only shop on the high street in some town.
Well, probably you know, Lucy, we actually moved from a shop environment across the road to a ground floor office with a front door. So we cut our overheads massively. We moved on the 24th of February. It was the best decision we've done. But we're very lucky that we have this sort of courtyard at the front. But we've also been very, very proactive over the last 10, 15 years, going out onto the market. We take a market store. We've got our own gazebo. We do sports events. We sponsor golf things. We sponsor the cricket club. So we're always out there, because I think you have to get out. You cannot sit back and wait for somebody to keep walking into your office or your shop. You just, you know,
and even
get out there.
Even less so now, presumably. But what about you both as suppliers? You know, in terms of, do you think? I mean, I think it is worrying times if you're on the high street with all these restrictions and perhaps people feeling nervous. So, but do you think, you know, what else has happened in the industry will play into the hands of independents?
Well, I just wish there was more travel agents like Jackie out there, you know, getting out the high street into the community. And we've been preaching that and working with agents and that for years. And it's great to hear somebody that's experienced it. Anybody that sits back in any shop, in any industry, and think they've got a right for the customer to walk through the door is wrong. You've got to be proactive, whether you're in the high street, whether you're a home worker, regardless where you are. 166 TUI shops shutting down. I certainly hope the staff do get re-employed elsewhere within TUI. But at the end of the day, it's a great opportunity for the independent travel agent, and I hope they come out fighting and make everything about that a positive for them. Because again, in certain instances, they will now be the only independent, in fact, the only travel agent in the high street. So go for it.
Yeah. I mean, and the other news over the weekend was big story in the Times about the some OTAs who have, you know, sold these holidays, and they're only going to refund on the accommodation part, but not on the flight part, because they're saying those flights are still going ahead. And so they're now, even though they've effectively sold a package, they seem to be coming under the spotlight a bit, you know, getting a bit of flack for that. So again, does that sort of give an opportunity for, you know, agents that are selling atoll bonded tour operator packages?
I think the whole thing, Lucy.
Hold on, sorry. Hold on a minute. Let's have you one at a time. Sorry, Chris, go ahead, and then we'll come to you, Alan.
I think the last few months has played into the hands of the atoll bonded tour operator and specialist travel agent, especially because with the more and more reliance on having to pass on information about the various forms that you have to fill out, or the requirements changing on a daily basis, and sort of being able to make those last minute moves that Jackie was talking about, having the confidence of selling the product because you know that you're going to be able to move it and sort of handle it all very well. And I think that every single step just plays into the hands of the tour operator and the travel agent. We are hand-holding, and we're sort of almost giving overkill in giving the information across, whether it's videos, emails, follow-up telephone calls, to make sure that the guests are filling out the various forms and that sort of thing. And on a daily basis, you're seeing people turn up at check-in that have just booked a flight only. They haven't filled out the relevant paperwork because certain airlines aren't sort of pushing that, and they're then having to travel the following day and sort of pay for extra flights and that sort of thing. And I think all of this is just playing into the hands of those specialists that do take the time, do have the customer service, and do sort of look after the guests.
Absolutely, and let's hope they remember it when we're out of the crisis and we're in normal time. Alan, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what were you going to say?
I've been telling travel agents for 11.5 years to book a package holiday they can trust. And when we started talking about package holidays 11.5 years ago, you'd have thought we were swearing at the travel agents, right? Because that was taboo, the word package. Now the travel agents and the customers respect what it stands for. It's not when things are going right, everybody can make another 0.5% or 1% through DP and through OTAs and the way that they work. But at the end of the day, if you want to sleep at night, if you want to keep the business, and you want to keep things when things go wrong, you should be booking a package tour operator, particularly in this climate that we're in. And this is going to last for years to come. So learn your lesson. That's what I say to the customer.
I think that's a good place to end it. You're not going to get any arguments from the other two on this webcast, I don't think. All right, well, we're probably about time in any case. So I'm really grateful for your time this morning. So thank you very much to Jackie from TravelTime World, Chris from Sunvil, and to Alan from Jet2 Holidays. Good luck, guys.
Thank you.